All right. So, thanks for joining. In this video, we are going to, sorry, I'm going to introduce myself. This is the data teacher, primarily going over data engineering stuff right now, but thanks for joining again. And in the last video, we talked about setting up your virtual environment for data engineering. And then in this one, we're just going to work with some SQLite. It's good to do some database work. It's kind of a pain to set up Postgres on your local. It's really a pain to set up most databases because you need to like open a port and do some networking stuff. And it's just much easier to do SQLite. SQLite is basically just a SQL file. So you could still write SQL, but you just interact with it like you would any file. So you don't have to open up a network or do anything weird on your computer. So in this video, I made a SQLite folder. I highly recommend you just put it in a folder. We're going to make a data directory in this folder. So I'm already there on my terminal. Make sure you CD to it if you can. And then we're just going to make dir data right there. And that's going to be our data folder, which is right there. The next thing we're going to do is make a SQLite file. So I'm going to go to my data, and I'm just going to say touch my. I'm actually going to call my db.SQLite. So let me change that name up here. MyDB. Then we're going to make a file for this. So I'm going to go out of the data directory, and I'm going to do a touch on SQLiteTutorial.py. Once we've done that, we're going to connect to the SQLite file, and then we're going to write data to it. So pretty simple stuff. Let's go ahead and jump into that. So I'm here in this file, and let's just cancel that. Sorry, make sure I save that. Just leave that open. So I'm in my SQLite tutorial file, and the cool thing about Python is it comes with already installed with SQLite 3, so you don't really need to install any new libraries. You don't need to do anything weird like that. Maybe not weird, but just cumbersome. And give me 1 second. I'm going to go to preferences and just increase the font size. So font, just do 20. I think this is kind of small. There we go. So you just bring in SQLite 3, and then you just make a connection. So connection equals SQLite 3.connection. And then we just reference the file that we created. So name SQLite 3 is not defined. Module SQLite. Oh, weird. I didn't mean to run it. Oh, it's because I haven't. I have to activate my virtual environment here just to run the script. So we'll do virtual environment. We'll do source. Okay, and then we'll just run it. Import. I don't think it's called SQLite 3. Yeah, it's called SQLite 3. And let me just do a print statement here. Print opening connection. And then we'll just close it. Print connection closed. Finish. So we're just going to go ahead and just run this. So we'll say Python. Let's just do which Python and make sure that it's going into that virtual environment. I always like to do that just for a sanity check. Python SQLite tutorial.py. Cool. So it worked. We are connected in there. That's great. So the next thing we want to do is just put some data in there. So connection. So let's make an insert statement. And let's see if we can execute. I've never done this before, so this is going to be different. Hopefully I'm going to get to learn something, but let's just do like insert SQLite or insert Let's do SQLite execute SQL file. Let's do Python. So it looks like we still have to open it and read it. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and make a SQL file. So let's just touch create user table.sql. And what this is doing is just creating a SQL file for us. I like making SQL files because I like linting it. Create table, if not exist, users. Columns. And the columns are going to be ID, which is going to be an integer. I don't know if it's like that. Gosh, I haven't done this in forever. Create table. No commas. So we just do ID, int. After ID, we'll go ahead and do, actually, let me do this. Kind of make it look a little cleaner. After ID, we'll do first name, text. Will text work? Yeah, text works. That's great. And then we'll just say primary key. Last name, text. And then let's go ahead and say email, text. So create table here. And let's go ahead and run this. So to run this, we need to open up our SQL file. So we're going to say with open create user table.sql as f, create table statement equals f.read, and then we're just going to print that statement, create table statement right there. We're still connecting right here. In fact, let's go ahead and move the connecting part to after we read this in. And then I'm just going to type exit right there, just so we can just test this part and we're not interfering with anything below. So we're going to do Python. Cool. So we read it in and we get this string just like we typed it down there. So we got our statement ready to go. So that works. And so this is really common in data engineering. I kind of just started, I gave no context, but in data engineering, a lot of the time you write SQL scripts and you execute them somewhere, and it's common to put them in SQL files. So that way they can get run either automatically or someone can pick them up and run them, but you just save it as a SQL file and it just makes it a little bit easier. So let me come here. So whenever we're writing data, we're going to create a user table by writing SQL into create user table.sql file. Then insert rows into user table using insert into user table.sql file. So we're going to make two SQL files, one to create the table, one to insert the rows, and we're going to go ahead and execute both of them. So the next one is going to be called touch create or insert, sorry. Insert into user table .sql. And then this one, and you could put all this into one SQL file. You don't have to break it up into two. I'm just kind of doing that. I'm just going to take this right here, insert into users. And I think we just put values. So easy enough. Values. And row one, so notice what this looks like. We use parentheses per row. And we just put the values in for each row. So in this, I'm just going to put a comment with our column. So ID, first name, last name, email. So ID, first name, last name, email. Values. I think I can do it like this, where I put parentheses, but we'll just say ID 1, first name. We'll say the first name is, we'll just say my name. So Rafa, I think it's single string. Rafa, last name, teacher, email, the data teacher at email.com. 2, we'll go ahead and say Larry, and then last name we'll say person, and we'll say Larry the person at email.com. And then we'll just say 3. We'll give another name here. We'll say Samantha. And then Samantha can be person as well. Samantha, the person. I was going to put Gmail there, but at email.com. Cool. So we'll go ahead and save this, and we'll go ahead and open this the same way. With open dot create, insert into user table dot SQL as F. Insert statement equals F dot read. And let's go ahead and print create table statement, print insert statement, and exit. And I'm going to go ahead and just do this in my terminal because the font's a little bit bigger. And we're going to, cool. So yeah, we're going to run Python SQLiteTutorial.py. Awesome. So we get our first create statement, our second insert statement. Nice. So the next thing is we need to open our connection. And then we're going to do connection.execute, create table statement, connection.execute, insert statement. One more thing I'm going to do is import logging at the top, and logging just helps us log stuff. So instead of print, I'm going to do logging.info. And then here we're going to open up our connection, and I'm going to say logging.info, creating table, logging.info, inserting data into users table, and then here instead of print, logging.info. And we should be good now. So let's go ahead and run this. There's no columns statement here. It's just create table users. Like that. Okay, my apologies. So we shouldn't have column there. Go ahead and try it again. Table has 4 columns, but 3 values were supplied. ID, first name, last name, email. Table, users. Has 4 columns, but 3 values were supplied. All right, I'm gonna get rid of these. That first parentheses might have messed it up, so I don't think you can just put them there. Because I think the 3 it was referring to is it was trying to insert this into the first column, this into the second, this whole thing into the third, which is bad. Okay. Oh, because the logging's not like running. So I guess we'd have to do print to see it. That's kind of a pain. So experimented with logging, that did not work. I'm gonna go ahead and just change all these back to print. Apologies, but that's how you learn, you know? So whenever we do Python out of the terminal like this, print is the only thing that's gonna run. Cool. Let's go ahead and query the table. We're probably gonna have multiple, so let's go ahead and query it. So before we close the connection, let's do connection.execute. Touch. Actually, we'll just do this here. This is like a simple statement. Select star from users. Fetch all. We'll say r equals. We'll say print r. We'll say print fetching all users. So whenever you do connection, so we've opened the connection, SQLite.connection by referencing the file. We've created the table. We've inserted some data. The next thing we want to do is grab the data. So we're going to say select star from users. And then when you do SQL, typically anytime you see a .execute, you have to do a .fetch all. And then that's going to actually go into, because this is going to execute the statement, but then you actually have to grab the data that got executed. And so it's going to fetch everything in it. And we're just going to print our results. Cool. And here are the results. So notice we get a list, and each list contains a tuple. There's tuple 1, tuple 2, tuple 3. And there's only 3. So why is there only 3, right? We've run this script over and over and over and over and over again. And it's created a table only once, right? Because we said create this table only if it doesn't exist. It does exist, so this basically isn't getting executed anymore. But why is it only inserting, like why isn't it repeating the rows? And that's because these numbers are called primary keys. So anytime we insert a number, like if I insert a number 1, so let's go ahead and make a new data point, and we'll say 1, and we'll just say the data teacher, the data teacher new at email.com. So this time we're going to insert data again. This one's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 1, and let's see what happens. So what happened here? Well, it tries inserting the data into the users table, but then it says unique constraint failed. So basically what that means is the 1 already existed. It can't write it in there again. Whoops. There we go. Hanging comma. Sorry. Cool. So that's it. That is how you make a SQLite database. And we'll do one more thing. So getting data like this is kind of a pain sometimes if you want to do some analysis on it. So it's really common to read it in as a pandas data frame. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to say import pandas as PD. I don't know why that said there. And then this statement, the select star, what we're going to do instead is say df equals pd dot read SQL. You have to give it a connection. So what pandas can do is you can say, hey, I am connected to this database and I want this data, and you feed it a query, and pandas will go, cool, we'll connect to the database, we'll get the data, and we'll put it in a data frame for you, so you don't have to do anything. So you give it the connection, and I think I have two ends in my variable, and then you give it the SQL statement. So ours is going to be select star from users. And then we're just going to print the whole data frame right there. And so now I don't have to do like a connection.execute, because under the hood, pandas is doing that for me. Cool. So it did this, and then it puts it in a data frame, which has nice column names here. And then the information is set up so we can start doing data frame stuff to it. Very cool. So that's pretty much like the fundamentals when it comes to just interacting through SQL. I know this is only SQLite, but it's pretty common. Once you connecting to the database is the only difference. So if you want to do Postgres, Mongo might be a little different, but let's just say we're only doing SQL. If you want to do Postgres, MySQL, any other SQL like Redshift, whatever, the only difference is going to be how do you make this connection, right? This line of code is going to change. With Postgres, it changes. With MySQL, it changes. With most libraries, you're going to be using something different, but at the end of the day, like, this part is the same. So I hope this was helpful. Hope you learned a little bit about just kind of making SQLite databases. They're really nice to make because they're only a file. And so you're not going to have to, like, I don't know, like, do anything weird with it. And you're not going to have to connect to databases and open connections and just do weird stuff to connect to them. It's just opening up a file like you would a CSV or something. So I really like them. But I hope this video was helpful. I'm done talking. If you have questions, holler at me, put them in the comments. I'll be putting this info in the comments as well. So thank you.